Okay, good evening. So we're gonna get right to it. Do like about 15 minutes of work. Again, I do apologize that I can't do these long streams. By the end of the month, we'll figure out what's going on with my shoulder. Then we'll see what we can do from there. All right. So I believe yesterday we started on the self and isolation. Okay. So isolation really announces itself. It seeps in slowly. Everything feels quiet. Like the noise of the world is fading, but the silence has weight behind it, and when it settles too long, it begins to press down on the mind. Okay, this doesn't need to be that long of a section. It's pretty self-explanatory how isolation affects you, yourself. But we'll just give examples and we'll go from there. Again, the usual, don't drink unless you're like my age, old as fuck. Old as hell and in a lot of pain. I can actually get this open. Okay. Alright, let's see. Isolation really announces itself. It seeps in slowly. Everything feels quiet. Like the noise of the world is fading, but the silence has weight behind it. And when it settles too long, it begins to press down on the mind. You begin to notice stuff that you didn't notice before. Like your senses become a little bit more good at their job. It's like you've heard. I'm pretty sure people have heard the saying: if you lose one of your senses, if you become blind, your hearing, smelling, taste becomes a little bit stronger. So, I guess if you're isolated, yeah, that does kind of work. You become more aware of the things around you. There we go. Okay, let's see. So you start to notice things. Start to notice things. You start to notice things that were always there, but never felt significant. I do admit, playing certain games over and over again, like you think you know everything, then there's that one time something just blows your mind. Like, holy shit, that was there the entire time and I did not notice it. Never felt significant. So, can I give examples of this? Nah, not really. Like, I'm pretty sure it's self-explanatory. It varies from people to people. So, the game world feels smaller. The game world begins to feel smaller. Begins to feel smaller. This is where the horror begins. This is where the horror begins. Not in the monster or violence. Not in the monster or violence, but in realization. No, recognition. In recognition. You can't really. Well, again, this is the self in isolation, so because you can't. It leads on. It follows up the prior section. The voices in your head, because you can't trust your own. Yeah, you can't trust your own thoughts. When you can no longer trust the voice in your head. You can no longer trust the voice in your head. Alright. Isolation really announces itself. It seeps in slowly. Everything feels quiet. Like the noise of the world is fading. The silence has weight behind it, and when it settles too long, it begins to press down on the mind. You start to notice things that have always been there. This is why we proofread, but never felt significant. The game world begins to feel smaller. We need to get an example of this. Perhaps you noticed some mundane detail. Perhaps you noticed some mundane detail. Such as a hole that was such as a hole in the ceiling. The only reason why I'm saying that is because I was playing GoldenEye, and I know there was it was caverns, I believe. I looked up and there was a hole. I was like, I never look up and there's a hole like in the ceiling. Like, what the fuck? Or if you're cute about it, Ocarina of Time and underneath in Zora's Domain, underneath the frozen pond. The frozen water. Underneath the frozen water is that hole. Unless you really know how to do funky shenanigans, you're never gonna get there normally. But getting underneath the ice as adult Link and go into that little section, there's just a random hole that you can't see unless you're literally underneath the water. It's like, bro, what the fuck's this hole for? That's way too much. So when you can no longer trust the voice in your head. This is where horror begins, not in the monster or vines, but in recognition, when you can no longer trust the voice in your head. You know, when the voice in your head doesn't feel like yours. When the voice in your head begins feeling foreign, begins sounding foreign. Damn, now I want to play Ocarina of Time. But I'm doing this because I feel like it's not a pain, but it's just an awkward feeling that's like back there now. When the voice in your head begins sounding foreign. Just as the voice in your foreign, so the mind. The mind starts filling in the gaps left behind by others. By others. So it's just the voice in your head begins sounding foreign. The mind starts filling in the gaps left behind by others. I gotta be very careful here. Give me a second to think here. You imagine things that aren't actually there. You imagine things that aren't actually there. because you can't bear the loneliness anymore. Hey, look, that shadow over there. It must be a person. Oh no, no, it's not. You're just imagining it. You can't bear being alone. The emptiness. Bear the emptiness. You can't bear the emptiness. You begin to wonder if your memories are reliable. Daniel! Play Amnesia. Amnesia's a trip. You begin wondering if your memories are reliable or 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 loneliness. Yeah, or loneliness. Or if loneliness has changed. Isolation rarely announces itself. It seeps in slowly. Everything feels quiet, like the noise of the world is fading. But the silence has weight behind it, and when it settles too long, it begins to press down on the mind. You start to notice things that have always been there but never felt significant. Perhaps you notice some mundane details, such as a hole in the ceiling that you swear was never there before. The game world begins to feel smaller. This is where horror begins, not in the monster or violence, but in recognition, such as the voice in your head begins to sound foreign. Yeah. Oh, that's fine. Begins to sound foreign. The mind starts. It's just the voice in your head beginning to sound foreign. Ooh, that's a tricky one. Beginning to sound foreign. The mind starts to fill the gaps. Starts to fill in the gaps left by others. You imagine things that aren't actually there because you can't bear the emptiness. You begin wondering if your memories are reliable, or if loneliness has changed them. Okay. Again, we don't really need to go that crazy with this. What time is it? It is okay. It's like another 5 minutes. We'll wrap up this section. Like again, we don't really need to go that crazy. We know how the self is. It varies from person to person. What do I want to do here? The more you remain alone, the more you remain alone, the more your sense of identity unravels. Unravels. Without someone there for you. Without someone there for you. Without someone there for you. The more you remain alone, the more your sense of identity unravels. I'm gonna be very careful here. I might have to get rid of that. Because again, this varies from person to person. Your sense of self starts to deteriorate. Yeah, there we go. We're being cheeky. Yeah, that's really good. Let's do this one more time. We don't really need to go that much detail into this. This is the self. And also remember, the things I write, I'm writing a lot, but it doesn't mean it's gonna be in the final product. It's better to overextend and just write a little. You just never know. So I overshoot a lot. So isolation really announces itself. It seeps in slowly. Everything feels quiet, like the noise of the world is fading, but the silence has weight behind it. And when it settles too long, it begins to press down on the mind. You start to notice things that have always been there but never felt significant. Perhaps you notice some mundane details, such as this hole in the ceiling that you could swear was never there before. The game world begins to feel smaller. This is where the horror begins, not in the monster, but in the recognition. Such as the voice in your head beginning to sound foreign. The mind starts filling in the gaps left by others. You imagine things that aren't actually there because you can't bear the emptiness. You begin wondering if your memories are reliable or if the loneliness has changed them. The more you remain alone, the more your sense of identity unravels. Your sense of self starts to deteriorate until you're a shadow of your former self. I need a better concluding sentence. So let's think about this. Your sense of self starts to deteriorate until you're a shadow of your former self. Do I really want to do that? It's fine though. Your sense of self starts to deteriorate until you're a shadow of your former self. And you then realize that you were never truly running away from a monster. You were running away from yourself. There we go. You then realize that you were never truly running away from an external threat, but from yourself. There we go. All right. The more you remain alone, the more your sense of identity unravels. Your sense of self starts to deteriorate until you're a shadow. Till you are a shadow of your former self. You do not need to do that. Curse these bad eyes of mine. You then realize that you were never truly running away from an external threat. I hate when that happens. You think you write something, but you actually don't write it from yourself. Okay, good. So we finished off this section. I believe tomorrow is digital isolation, which is kind of. And we'll figure something out with that tomorrow. I'm not too worried about that. So good stuff. Anyways, good shit. Again, I do apologize for these like short streams, but until we figure out what's going on with this neck arthritis, I don't want to chance it because it hurts. And it's not hurting. It's just awkward typing right now. So good stuff. See people tomorrow. Take care.